Welcome to Hope for Recovery, a 12-step workshop, sponsored by the Saturday Serenity meeting of Eating Disorders Anonymous, which is a fellowship of people who share their experience, strength, and hope with each other that they might solve their common problems and help others to recover from their eating disorders. Information about EDA can be found at 4eda.org, the number 4eda.org. Handouts for all sessions of this workshop can be found at edahopeforrecovery.com. And now, here's today's workshop.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Hope for Recovery bonus session number 1. We hope this will be the first of several bonus sessions that we will offer in the future. My name is Regina. I live in California, and I'm a grateful recovered member of Eating Disorders Anonymous. I am also the chairperson of the Hope for Recovery Workshop Committee. The inspiration for offering this bonus session came from my desire to present additional examples of inventory work. Doing spot check inventories in particular are important to me personally, as these were key for my own recovery. What we're going to do today is give a couple examples of spot check inventories, followed by an example of a resentment inventory, then a fear inventory, and then an EDA member will share an example of her daily inventory. We have been collecting EDA member stories, and we'll share one of these stories in this bonus session as well. And we'll begin with the first spot check inventory. So this first example of a spot check inventory is my own example. I was at a place in my own recovery where I'd stopped binging, stopped purging, was eating sensibly, except I struggled with adding unplanned treats onto the end of my meals, sometimes quite a lot of treats. This was particularly problematic after lunch at work, when I would feel compelled to purchase items, often multiple items, after having finished eating lunch. This would happen after dinner at times, but it was a daily occurrence on work days. I felt a great deal of frustration, shame, and anger towards myself each time this happened. I lacked the will to call on the phone to ask for help before acting out. But when I learned about spot check inventory work, I realized I could and probably should address my resentment against myself after acting out, and I began to do so. The inventory was done in my mind, but I have put it in writing on this slide to share it with you. So here we go. Source of my resentment, myself. Reason, cause. I ate a bunch of snack foods at work that I did not plan to eat. At risk affects my ambition to practice sound nutrition, to just eat the nice lunch I brought from home, or to eat a little snack food. Pride. I want to be recovered now. Family relationships. I feel grumpy and want to be alone, not interact with my family. Sexual relations. I feel kind of sick. I don't want to be touched. Self-esteem. Felt badly about myself, broken, confused. My error, my part. Selfishness. Eating a bunch of snack food makes me feel less useful to God and my fellows. All I want to do afterwards is isolate. Self-will. I knew I could pray or make a call and chose not to. Even though I did pause and think about my options, I still chose to engage in my eating disorder behavior. Fear. This will never get better. I will never be willing. Resolution. Take care of basic needs. Be aware of my feelings when I start thinking about unplanned eating or eating disorder behavior. Pause, pray, talk about my feelings, reach out, leave the building for a short walk. Accept where I am today. Remember, recovery is a process, not an event. Be gentle with myself. Share this inventory with my sponsor. Turn my thoughts to being useful. So as I said earlier, this went on for many, many weeks, and let's say months, to be honest, and it was exhausting. But I kept up this inventory process, and my poor sponsors had to hear this repeatedly, and I'm sure they were rolling their eyes. No, maybe not. But hopefully they were glad I was following instructions and trying. What happened is that I got in touch with the thoughts and feelings that preceded the acting out. And things turned around in time. And here's an example of a spot check inventory where I'm in touch with what's actually going on. Source: I'm feeling angry and tired. Reason: cause: feel tired and can't leave work on time as patient needs are too high. I was working in a treatment hospital. Will need to work longer hours than I'm supposed to today. Worried I'll be stuck in traffic if I leave later than planned. Worried that I will be too tired after work to do the fun activity I have planned. At risk affects my self-esteem. I can only comfortably work part-time due to health issues. Feel less than my colleagues who all work full-time hours. Pride: want to be seen as strong and successful, not as frail and different. Ambition: to work a lot, be successful, and make more money. My error, my part. Selfishness: angry that my health is not what I want it to be, lack of acceptance of reality. Dishonesty: telling myself eating snack food will make things better. It will not help, but only make me feel worse. Dishonesty: telling myself I will just eat one item of snack food. This rarely happened for me in this setting. Fear: that others will reject me because of my fatigue, that I am less than because of my fatigue. Resolution: share my feelings as soon as possible. Pray to God to remove my dishonesty, selfishness, and fear and direct my attention to what He would have me be. Get outside and take a short walk. Keep focusing on my higher purpose, to be useful. Turn my thoughts towards others. Call a newcomer. Focus on the work in front of me. Pick up trash if necessary. Pray for someone who is hurting. Tolerate the discomfort of being tired. Take care of basics by resting when I get home. So what happened is, and I hope this illustrates it, I would get tired at work and be really angry about being tired and felt shame about being tired and less than and comparison. And all of that was what was really going on. And when I got deeply in touch with it, I was able to stop the behavior. Now, I had mentioned that this would go on at dinner time as well. And sometimes I would find myself doing a spot check inventory, driving to the store, which is 1 mile from my home, the corner store. And when I would do this process, before I got to the store, I would call someone, talk about it. And usually I was tired at the end of the day because I do suffer with fatigue. And it would all turn around. And I was able to stop this long-term behavior of adding on additional food to meals when I was already full. And that is how spot check inventory work really helped me. Also, when I first began doing spot check inventories, the feeling was just, I want to eat more. And I wasn't aware of any other feelings except I want to eat. But gently, I was like, well, what else might be going on? And then I would go, oh, I'm angry at so-and-so for this and that, or I'm really tired, or I'm afraid about this or that. And all right, I think we're going to move on, and thanks for letting me share about spot check inventories. So the next slide here is a resentment inventory. And I wanted to include this one because it's a resentment that I had from childhood. The backstory, and I'll keep it brief, is that I was about 8 years old. My parents took me to the Buffalo, New York Zoo at Easter for an Easter egg hunt. And I had a frustrating experience of not being able to find even one Easter egg. So I, at one point, saw a man crouching down, pointing under a bush. And I went over to see what was happening, and he was pointing at a colorful egg. And I spontaneously reached my hand out to grab it, and I wrote down, swatted my hand. Felt like he hit me. So then I looked and I saw that he was a zookeeper, and next to him was a young child with Down syndrome, and he was trying to help this child find an egg. Okay, here we go. Source of the resentment, zookeeper, reason cause, swatted my hand, at risk affects my self-esteem, felt badly about myself, only a bad person would take candy from a disabled child, self-esteem, only bad people get physically reprimanded, ambition to get an egg, security to feel safe in public places. My error, my part. Selfish. The zookeeper did not follow my script, do things my way. Selfish, making this all about me. I was messing up his effort to be kind after all. Dishonesty, telling myself no one should ever be upset with me. Dishonesty, telling myself it was my fault I got swatted. Dishonesty, telling myself I should not have made a mistake and I am bad for doing what I did. Resolution, acknowledge my inner child was hurt, but I can comfort her now. In the future, when I am upset or startled, talk about it as soon as possible, not 30 years later. Accept that people sometimes act reflexively. My response and the zookeepers were normal. That's life on life's terms. So I wanted to include this one because it shows how an old resentment can last for many years. We're going to go on to an example of a fear inventory next. Yeah, this is the last one of my inventories that I'm planning on sharing, and it is about when I get a headache. When I get a headache, I often need a fear inventory, and really it applies to aches and pains in general because I'm very somatic with my fears, if that makes sense. I get anxious when I have physical symptoms, so headache is a good example. Reason source, I have a headache. Reason cause, I'm remembering my mother's brain tumors that caused her death. At risk affects my emotional security. I want to be peaceful and calm. My ambition to be productive. My family relationships. My family knows when I'm fearful and anxious because I act weird and they avoid me. My error, my part. Selfish. I'm angry my body isn't doing what I want. And remember, the definition of selfishness is angry that someone is not doing what I want or behaving the way I want. So my body wasn't doing what I want. Dishonesty. I'm acting like a doctor and diagnosing myself. I am not a doctor. Letting my imagination run wild, catastrophizing. Also dishonesty there. Resolution. Acknowledge my fear and remind myself it's very unlikely I have a brain tumor. Take an aspirin. In other words, do the next right thing for my self-care. Remind myself that headaches are common and mine, fortunately, don't last very long. Use the fear prayer. And with that, we are going to move on to an example of a daily inventory. Beverly W. from North Dakota has offered to share one of her daily inventories with us. Thanks so much, Beverly. Are you ready?
I am.
All right, well, I'm going to cue you and you read what you wrote. Number 1, jot down events that occurred in the last 24 hours to remind me of my emotional ups and downs.
I attended my home EDA group Saturday Serenity, felt connection. Spouse questioned my spending, angry. Completed Bible study homework, felt peaceful.
Number 2, use the 5-column format to inventory 1 or 2 of the negative feelings or responses identified above. Source:
My spouse
reason, cause.
questioned me about a $13 charge on our credit card.
At risk, effects.
Self-esteem because I'm thinking he believes I'm spending recklessly. Pride because I also earn money. Ambition because I want to be seen as a responsible adult. Relationship because I feel cold towards him.
My error, my part.
Selfish because I'm angry he did not behave the way I would like him to. I never want to be questioned about anything. Dishonest because I'm assuming I know what he is thinking. Fear because I think he thinks I am irresponsible. Fear because if $13 is a problem, I wonder if we are financially unstable. Self-seeking because I got huffy with him.
And resolution.
Try to remember to pause when I feel agitated and pray. Communicate with him directly if I'm feeling upset. I owe him an amends, which I can do today after I share this with my sponsor. Take responsibility to remind myself that we are blessed to be just fine financially.
Do you have any milestones?
Yes, I read and shared at the EDA meeting today. I called my cousin and set up a coffee date.
Number 4, list some things I noticed others doing right that affected me positively.
The people at my meeting were very honest and open. My husband made dinner and he takes care of all our finances, which I'm not good at.
Number 5, consider the day ahead.
Plan a balanced menu, attend mass at my church, go food shopping.
And number 6, do you have a small goal for the day ahead?
Practice gratitude all day.
Thank you, Beverly.
It's now my pleasure to introduce Trish from Florida. Go ahead.
Hi, Regina. Hi, everyone. My name's Trish, and I've recovered from an eating disorder. And yes, I'm from Florida. My recovery started in Delray Beach, Florida. But my eating disorder started in St. Louis, Missouri. I'm from Missouri, and my eating disorder started when I was fairly young. I can remember thoughts as far back as grade school. And it really manifested in the body image, having low body image thoughts and thinking that I wasn't enough, thinking that other girls, other women had, better bodies than me, not understanding why God, gave me the body that he gave me. And that's pretty much how it went for many, many years. Just, I would even write letters to God, begging him, God, please help me wake up with a different body. Please help me wake up older than I am. Please help me, just begs and pleads, to wake up a different person, with a different body. And the manifestation of my eating disorder physically really came out when I was in my 20s. So I found many unhealthy ways to cope with those thoughts when I was younger. And the manifestation came out in the form of binging when I was in my 20s, and I found out I had diabetes, and I believe that's when the physical allergy really took place for me. I was, having extreme low blood sugars, not knowing why, therefore eating everything in my kitchen to try to keep from fainting. And, after finding out I had the diabetes and learning how to manage it, those binges didn't stop. And shortly afterwards, I, learned how to purge. And that really set me off, going into, just started off at night, like going off and purging at night, when I was by myself. And, it ended by me, being at work purging. You know, I woke up every morning firmly committing to myself, I'm not going to do it today. I'm going to eat healthy today. I'm not going to binge and purge. My eating disorder didn't just take the shape of binging and purging. I would try restricting. I would try, different pills. I would try different fasts, different diets, anything I could to try to change my body. So that was my bottom. My bottom was me getting on my knees one night right after I had dialed 911 into my phone, because I was scared that I was going to die from all the binging and purging I had done that night. And the extreme, high and low blood sugars, and physically just feeling like my body was about to shut down. So I had 911 dialed in on my phone, and I put it down and I got on my knees and I prayed. I said, God, please help me. I knew that I was not going to make it doing the things that I was doing. And since I had, prior experience with spirituality and whatnot, God was kind of my last hope. And shortly after that, I talked to a friend who had given me some numbers of women she knew that had eating disorders and that were getting help for them. And I believe she gave me 3 numbers. And the one woman that got back to me happened to be an EDA. And this woman, she invited me to an EDA meeting. And at the time in Delray, we had 2 in-person meetings a week. Not a whole lot of meetings, but enough. And she invited me to a meeting, and she pretty much just opened up her time for me. I would thank God for cell phones. I would text her early in the morning before work. I would text her at work. I would text her, because I had a hard time in the beginning, getting through the days. Now that I was aware that I really had an eating disorder, there was just no hiding it. And I started coming to EDA, and, I'd say my first 2 months in EDA, I would sit in the meetings and I would stare at the clock. And I would think, when is this going to be over? Okay, I'm going to get up and leave 5 minutes. In 5 minutes, I'm going to walk out. All right, right after this person shares, I'm going to walk out. But that fear of getting up and having other people look at me, glued me to that chair. But it was uncomfortable. It was really uncomfortable. But I stuck with it. I started working the steps with this woman. And she took me through the steps week by week. We sat down and we went through every step. I learned what it meant to be powerless over an eating disorder. And for me, it's really that waking up every morning saying, okay, I'm not going to do this today, and not being able to follow through with that commitment. It was buying groceries for my children, and with the intent of those groceries lasting, and not being able to not eat all of them, and then lock myself in the bathroom and purge. Things of that nature, things that I really wanted and I really wanted to control, but I just couldn't. And the unmanageability part of it, constant cancellations with my friends, finances, spending all my money on these diets and cleanse and fasts and food at night, um, work. Now I was binging and purging at work, and the things that were unmanageable in my life were directly from the powerlessness I had from my eating disorder. And step two, the hope that I found in the fellowship, seeing these women, these men in the EDA meeting and them saying I've recovered from an eating disorder, and then talking to them outside of meetings, fellowshipping with them outside of meetings, and seeing how their words really aligned with their actions. I believe I can spot someone who's lying very quickly. I was really good at manipulation and hiding and secrecy, and I couldn't spot it in those people. When they said that they had a true love for themselves and that they were happy with their lives and they no longer, acted out, I believed them. Step three, I took with my sponsors. It was amazing. It was on the beach. I rewrote the third step prayer, and I got done, kind of reading and talking with her what my life would look like if I was restored to sanity. And she looked at me and she said, "Is that it?" And again, the hope, she's like, I hope that you imagine yourself being able to look in the mirror and feel the love for yourself. I imagine that you won't have to take hours and hours finding the right outfit before you go out with your friends. I hope that you imagine, being restored to sanity, looking like you being completely comfortable in your own skin. Just things that I didn't even really know were possible. The insanity, she explained to me really clearly, Trish, the insanity isn't you acting out on that eating disorder. The insanity isn't, you going into the bathroom and making yourself purge. The insanity are the thoughts that come before that. The insanity is you thinking that if you go for that one food, or after you go for that food, the insanity is thinking that if you just bring that food up, that everything's going to be okay. The insanity is you thinking that if I could just eat this one thing, I'll feel better. If I could just lose this weight, I'll be enough. That was the insanity. Not being able to see the truth in my own life, So I took that third step and I immediately jumped on to the fourth step and, started those action steps, read my fifth step. 6 and 7 were amazing for me because I really got down to causes and conditions of why I acted out. Those character defects of not being able to set boundaries, being so overly concerned with the way I looked, being extremely self-centered, thinking the world revolved around Trish. Those were the things that made me act out, So for me, I had to counteract those things. I now built my character through setting boundaries with people who I could never set boundaries with. I built my character by showing up at meetings and now doing service work, picking up the phone and calling newcomers that were coming into EDA. Only changing one time before I went out, not wearing makeup for a month. That was a big one. All of those things to build my character. And along with that, random acts of kindness, which were, hey, I'm going to do something every day that only me and God see. And that way I don't get any validation from, the world. The only validation that I feel is from me and my higher power. And that was such a gift because, I knew my higher power was there and I believed in God, but I never really felt like God knew me or God saw me. So doing those random acts of kindness really built that relationship with me and God. And steps 8 and 9, writing my list of people whom I had harmed through my eating disorder, my kids, my parents, friends, and going to them and saying, like, it was really wrong of me, Mom, to come over here every week, for a home cooked meal and then complaining about the food you were cooking because it wasn't on my meal plan that week. It was really wrong of me to eat all of your food and then purge it up in the bathroom, waste your hard-earned money. And that too, that was a gift. Step 10 is really when my eating disorders started kind of drifting away. I'm not going to sit here and say that step 1, I had stopped all behaviors. It was a gradual process. I love in the EDA book when it says, this is a process, not an event. We've had this eating disorder for many, many years. We can't expect it to, to leave us in a day or a week or a month or 3 months or 6 months or however long. It's a matter of consistently working these steps, diligently putting time and commitment into it. So step 10 is when I came home every night and I would, write down my day and write down my gratitude list and look at the emotional disturbances I was having. And that kind of replaced my nightly binge. And then pairing it with step 11 with meditating at night, that really rocketed me off into that just burning, excitement and motivation, to keep going. I started to realize, oh my gosh, it's been a couple nights since I've come home and binged. I haven't purged in so long. Oh my gosh, I haven't obsessed about my body. I haven't been stuck in the mirror just pointing out everything that's wrong with me. These little realizations. The night I got on step 12, I was like so excited to sponsor people. I asked my sponsor, does this mean I could sponsor now? And she said yes. And I was so excited because I never ever thought, I never knew this was possible. I really thought that I was going to have to live with this low self-worth, this genuine, hate of my body, disappointment of not being able to follow through with anything. I really thought I was going to have to live with that, and when I got to step 12 and, it says that now that I don't even know what it says. I can't think right now. Having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we try to carry this message to other eating disorders and practice these principles in all our affairs. That was the message. The message was these steps saved my life, and I don't obsess and I don't act out on my eating disorder anymore. Today, my life looks like, if I had one word to sum it up, it'd be gentleness. I tell my sponsees all the time, it's about being gentle with ourselves. Today my eating disorder looks like me telling myself I don't have an eating disorder or that I never did. It'll say, Trish, did you really ever have an eating disorder? You haven't acted out or thought about your body in so long. Are you sure? Do you really still need to go to those meetings? That's how my disease flares up today. And then if I, don't eat for a longer period of time than I'm used to because of being busy or whatnot, and then, eat a little bit quicker the next meal, it's about being gentle with myself and seeing those red flags and being like, okay, like, note to self, like, you have to take better care of your basics. You need to make sure that you're eating when you're supposed to eat and not pushing it off because your life, is so full. You need to make sure you're getting good sleep so you're not irritable all day long and then going for food or going for, this or lashing out on people. so it's really about being gentle with myself today and just staying in the gratitude of being thankful for this program, because this program saved my life. And who am I to take that for granted today? It's my passion now. It's my passion to share with other people that through these steps you can too recover, and you don't have to act out every once in a while. You don't have to act out, in that time of the month, this, that, and the other. You can really have sustained permanent recovery from this if you continue to work the steps and go to meetings and use your higher power or higher ideal as strength and hope, and rely on it. So that is all I have. I'm sorry I went a little over, but thank you so much, Regina.
Trish, would you be open to chatting, taking a couple questions?
Sure.
I have a curious mind. First of all, I'm normally not speechless, but I'm almost speechless. It was wonderful. Tell me, I love that you replaced your nightly binges with step 10. That was classic. Tell me why you used the word allergy. I don't normally hear that used in EDA.
Okay, so I love this because I was kind of, foggy on this too. And I asked in the beginning, well, what am I allergic to? Like, we say we're not allergic to food, so what am I allergic to? And it was actually one of the founders that told me, we're not allergic to any food. We're allergic to the abuse of it. I'm not allergic to walking into the gym. I'm not allergic to looking in a mirror. I'm not allergic to, eating certain foods. I'm allergic. The allergy kicks in when I start to abuse that. So have I in the 9 years that I've been in recovery, have I not thrown up due to stomach issues or having the flu? I have. And the allergy didn't kick in because I wasn't abusing it.
Got it.
Yeah.
You mentioned children?
Yes, I have 2 children.
So they were born before you began your eating recovery.
Right.
How has your recovery changed your parenting or your relationship with them?
Oh, well, it's definitely helped in the sense of, basic needs, getting my basic needs met, because when you're parenting, it's really hard to get those needs met. Adequate sleep, social connection, nutrition, all of those things that we talk about, physical activity. It's really hard, but finding a balance in all of that and understanding that if I don't get adequate sleep, I'm going to lash out on them. If I don't nourish my body, I am going to be too depleted to help them with homework or do this or do that. If I'm not being physically active, I'm not going to have energy to do things with them. It kind of just, it was a well-rounded, need for me to be able to keep up with them, and I'm definitely not perfect with it, but taking care of my basic needs definitely helps. And just, just being able to be an example for them, of not being a mom who's constantly on a diet or trying to lose the weight or constantly saying, do I look okay in this? Am I this? Am I that? And looking for external ways to make myself feel good. It's just been such, and I've seen it in my daughter's life now of her, she'll send me text messages and screenshots of other girls in her school crying in the bathroom or up at night because they weigh a certain number. They look, my daughter will respond to them ways I respond to my sponsees. And she'll send screenshots and be like, Mom, was this okay to say?
Wonderful. Well, in Delray Beach, we imagine that you have a charmed life on the beach. Have you been through some hard things that you would be willing to talk about.
Yes, I have been. I lost my father in recovery, which was difficult, but I was really held together through the fellowship, who just supported me and took my calls and met up with me and helped me with my kids. I also lost my kid's father, my partner, about 2.5 years ago. And, I'm sure you can imagine that eating was not on my wants list that day. But knowing, like I said, knowing that if I don't nourish my body, things will just be worse. I sat down and I did what I could. And everybody's pushing food your way, saying, you gotta eat. And again, just being held by the fellowship, letting them shop for me, letting them take my kids, and staying close to my higher power through those really hard times. I've gone through a lot of disappointments in my recovery, and it's still natural to look at me, and to kind of say, what's wrong with you, or why did this happen to you? But through practice of these principles, it was just easier. I think it was easier. It was easier to get through those difficult times, those disappointments, because I had that awareness of God, really, and of the hope and the fellowship.
Thank you. Is your diabetes well managed now?
It is, yes. Oh my gosh, it is. That was really rough. And the first time I got that good report, that A1C, which every 3 months a diabetic gets an A1C of their average blood sugar over the last 3 months. And the first normal report I got from my doctor, I cried, because again, I never thought it was possible. And the thing is yeah, I manage it through relying on my higher power, being active, nourishing my body, and taking my medication.
Wow. Okay. I'm going to end on this happy note, and blessings, and we'll catch you another time. Thanks again.
All right. Thanks, Regina.
There is a lot of detail regarding these inventories provided in the workshop sessions. The daily inventory is covered in week 4, the spot check inventory in week 5, the resentment inventory week 6, and the fear inventory in week 7.
We hope you enjoyed today's workshop. More information about Eating Disorders Anonymous can be found at 4eda.org, number 4eda.org. The handouts for this workshop can be found at edahopeforrecovery.com. We encourage you to check out one or more of the many EDA Zoom or in-person meetings. Many of us have found recovery from our eating disorders in these meetings, and hope that you will too. Until next time.